Hello, everyone. Welcome. Um, Before we start, we just want to let you know that tonight's meeting will be happening both in Spanish and English. We will have interpretation. So uh, if you speak both languages, you don't have to do anything, but if you want to listen to the full meeting in English or in Spanish, you'll have to join a channel. And to do that, you'll find, if you're on a computer, you'll find once we started a little globe at the bottom, um, or it should already be started. Um, when you click on that, you can choose the language, and that'll be that for the rest of the meeting. If you are on a cell phone or an iPad, you'll find in the bottom right 3 dots that say more. Once you click on that, you'll see language interpretation and the globe symbol. You can select your language and click done. Buenas noches. La reunión de hoy estará en inglés y español. Tendremos interpretación. Para unirse al canal de español, si están en un computador, buscan el símbolo del globo abajo de la pantalla que dice Interpretation o interpretación. Luego escogen su lenguaje y listo. Si están en un celular o un iPad, van a ver abajo a la derecha 3 puntos que dicen More o más. Cuando hacen clic allí, van a ver la opción de Language Interpretation o interpretación. Ahí escogen el lenguaje y hacen clic en Done o listo y ya podrán escuchar. Just a reminder to anyone who will be speaking to speak slowly, clearly, and one at a time so we can interpret everything. And please keep your microphones muted unless you're speaking. Thank you for your support with that.
Okay, thanks. And I will start. Good evening, everybody. This is a meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission. It is Tuesday, January 20th, 6:11 p.m., and I'm calling this meeting to order. And let's read off our boilerplate. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. The recording of these proceedings can be found online at the agendas, minutes, and more link on the city website. And as is our custom, I'll introduce ourselves public, starting in the order on my screen with Ms. Price.
Hello, my name is Denise Price, and I live in a local historic district.
Thank you. Mr. Shagnon.
I'm DJ Shagnon. I'm the landscape architect on the commission and a resident of Ward 5.
Thank you. Mr. Falvey.
I am Ryan Falvey, a resident of Ward 2.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Kelly.
I'm Robin Kelly. I'm the Realtor member of the commission and a historic homeowner in Union Square.
Thanks. And I'm Eric Parks, architect and resident of Ward 3, historic homeowner. And we have at least one member of staff here, Ms. Anthony.
Hi, I'm Madison Anthony, and I'm a planner with the Department of Planning, Preservation, and Zoning. And I think it's just me from city staff here right now.
Okay. All right. So the first case on our agenda is one that will be continuing. So we just need a vote to continue that. The applicant is asked that her case be continued. This is HP 25-000076. The address is 76 Highland Avenue. The applicant is Lee Liu. The owner is Lee Liu. And this applicant is requested to be continued until, what was the date? Did you say? February 17th?
It was February 17th. That is correct.
Okay, so we just need a motion to continue that case.
So moved.
I will second that.
Okay, the motion's made by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
And we'll do our roll call, starting with Ms. Price.
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon?
Yes.
Mr. Falvey?
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay, and if we go back to our agenda here, the next case is one which one of our members needs to recuse herself because she's considered a butter. She lives close enough. So I believe we're going to lose Vice Chair Kelly for a little bit for this and the subsequent one. But we still have a quorum. And this is HP 25-000052. Address is 76 Columbus Avenue. The applicant is T&K Mechanical. The owner is Jessa Demora and John Bales. And the project is that the applicant seeks a certificate of appropriateness to alter an LHD property by installing a new HVAC system. Do we have somebody representing the applicant here tonight?
Yep, my name is Tim Cairns. I'm representing T&K Mechanical.
Welcome. Just give us a quick rundown of what you're up to. We do have
So here's what happened. I'll give you a quick synopsis. A couple of years back, I was hired to do a job by Mr. Matt Demora, who handed me a set of plans with everything mapped out as how he wanted his house to convert to electric heat pumps. At that point, I had no idea that we were in a historical society. So we signed papers for the job. I started the job. Usually when we get a first deposit, my daughter then pulls a permit. Apparently, clerically, we missed that, which is probably why we're here now. So Mr. Demora, about a week into the job, passed away. And then the job got turned over to his sister, Jessa. We completed the job, and I followed all of the preservation acts that I would know as a contractor. Again, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know I was working in a historical district.
Okay. Thanks. And well, we'll have some questions, but first we customarily take public comment before we move to any other deliberation or questions we might have of you. So if there are any members of the public who'd like to speak, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Chair Parks, this is Madison speaking. I don't see anyone raising their hand right now.
All right. I'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. And I'm just going to ask is, from looking at the staff report, I understand that the compressors that they're out located underneath the side porch in the back there. Is that correct?
They're not being able to be seen by the street. We made sure of that. There is no protrusions through the house that can't be brought back in and refixed. All of the piping in the house goes through chases that the customer himself opened and built. So we followed every way that we thought we could. Again, I really didn't know I was in a historical district, and that's kind of on me because we had the clerical error, and I apologize for that. I'm trying to make it right now by following all necessary stuff to get this right, is
Cool, thank
basically
you.
where I'm at.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, if you all other members of the commission had a chance to see this, the staff report has photos. It appears that it's tucked away kind of behind the side gable beneath the porch. So it is very minimally visible. And obviously my opinion is that we can't outright preclude the use of heat pump outside. It's just, I think, sort of like with solar panels, where our general standard is to make them as minimally visible as possible given the site constraints. But what do you all think?
This to me is the sort of installation of a heat pump I would love to see on a historic property like this. So it seems to be tucked in the back, thoughtfully placed, put underneath a porch, with fair amount of cover, fairly unobtrusive looking in at it. I mean, I wish my own heat pump were this invisible. I just don't have the right lot to have done it differently on. But yeah,
Thank you.
no, this is well done in my opinion. It's the sort of thing that had you come to us with these plans to approve it before doing, I think might instinct would have been to say, yeah, right on. So,
Thank you, sir.
yeah.
I would agree with the comments that Commissioner Shagnon shared. And I'm just curious about how you'll be finishing out like the facade where the openings are right now. Is it like lattice work, or I'm
I
just
think their thought was originally to do lattice.
yeah,
So they, we're sitting up on stands or brackets set back from the actual holes. There's plenty of airflow in there.
yeah,
I want to say even if they put lattice there, it wouldn't change anything. There's plenty of room for airflow there.
yeah, great.
I
Yeah,
again, I thought that was the original plan and the original designer passed. I'm not a carpenter, so I wouldn't put lattice up, so to speak.
right. Understood. Yeah, I think this is a real thoughtful way of masking the compressors of the units, and it's rare to see something like this. So I think it's a nice solution.
Thank you.
I would agree with everything that's been said. And I just want to note that I do like that the columns from the porch follow down through this piece that's covering up the condensers, and it just looks nice. So I think when it's finished off, it'll be great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. And I would agree with everything that's been said. I think it's as well situated as we could hope. And if it had come to us before you did it, I would have said yes to this. So I would obviously say yes to it now.
Again, apologize for the delay.
No problem. Sounds like we're ready for a vote then. If anyone would like to make a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that we grant a certificate of appropriateness.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Falvey, seconded by Ms. Price. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll do our roll call, starting with Ms. Price.
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon?
Yes.
Mr. Falvey?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So there you have it. Keep the air conditioner where it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank
Nice
you.
work.
All right. Thank you very much. We're good here.
Yep, I think we're good.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Just have to get my agenda back here. Okay, that's it for alterations. The next hearing on our agenda here is a determination of significance, which is step one in the demolition review process. And let me just take a moment to explain this process if we have anybody who's new to this. In Somerville, there's a demolition review ordinance, which basically any building that's that's over 75 years in age has to get reviewed by our commission when there's an application to demolish it. And we review it first, as we're doing tonight, to determine if the building has historic significance. This ignores its present condition, things like that, alternate uses. It's generally just totally a snapshot of the structure. Does it have value? Or maybe because famous person who lived there. It's a distinct example of some architectural style, or it's contributes to a pattern or rhythm or historic, presence on the streetscape, things like that. If we vote no, then the applicant is free to demolish. If we vote yes, then what happens is we hold another public hearing the following month. And at that point, we determine whether or not it's preferably preserved, which basically is a more extensive look at the property to evaluate its current condition, the savability of it, I guess you could say, the alternate uses, and take a wider view of it. If we vote no on that, then they're free to demolish it. If we vote yes, then it begins a period that could last as long as 18 months when we review with the applicant alternates to demolition. Sometimes it can range all the way from waiting out the entire delay to agreeing early on about a solution that helps document the existing structure. Might be plaque sometimes if something's important there. If Sometimes it influences the design that replaces it. Sometimes it involves salvaging some or all of it. So it's a wide range of things. And sometimes these delays end in a month or two, a couple months. Sometimes they go all the way out. So that is the process. And with that, I'll open the first case. It's HP 25-000102. Address is 184 Broadway. The applicant is Adam Dash Associates and Associates. Applicant is Adam Dash. Owner is the Somerville Community Corporation. And the formal title of this case is that the applicant seeks to demolish a building constructed a minimum of 75 years ago. Is the applicant here tonight?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Oh, great. Well, I have no ability to turn my camera on, but I am here.
We know you.
Yeah, I know. Can I share my screen as well? Because I don't have a button for that. I wanted to show a picture.
This is Madison speaking. Just give me 1 second and
Great.
I'll fully promote you and let you share your screen.
Great. Thanks. All right, there we are. So Adam Dash, 48 Grove Street, Somerville, representing the Somerville Community Corporation, Inc. Here with Alba Solis from the Community Corp. I believe, I don't know if Beatriz Gomez Mocad made it, but she would also be involved with this from the Somerville Community Corp. This is a hearing on significance, as you know, for the structure at 184 Broadway, which is owned by the Somerville Community Corp. I am showing you here a picture, which you should be able to see. This building on the right here, if you see my cursor, this is 184. I just want to give you some context to what's going on here before I get into the significance piece, because I think it's important. So the SCC is purchasing these two properties. They already own 184. They're purchasing 182, which is the old Patsy's Bakery here. And then there's this building that's also owned by the people who own the Patsy's Bakery building, which is 176. So they're going to demolish all of this, and they're going to build an all affordable housing development on this property. The Patsy's building is not 75 years old, so it's not going to come before you. From looking at records, it's our understanding that 176 was found not significant in 2013. So we're not bringing that forward. However, 184, which is actually one Somerville Community Corporation currently owns and is currently affordable housing, is the one we're in front of you on now. And this is to build an all affordable housing development in the affordable housing overlay with ground floor commercial space facing Broadway, which is obviously the big street here. I'm sure you've driven by here. And that's a requirement on the pedestrian street district. So that's what's going on here. So the current proposal that we're having on this property would have something like 52 affordable residential units with the ground floor commercial, although the project's not fully baked at this time. So Somerville Community Corp will be relocating its tenants in this building, just so you know. No one's being permanently displaced. So regarding the existing structure here at 184 Broadway, it is not significant. I would state, as stated in the, once again, well-researched and well-drafted staff report, the existing bland, narrow, and nondescript building really has little left in the way of architectural detailing and materials, and I will quote from the report, based on the observations of the building and the study of the historic maps, it is staff's position that the building retains the integrity of its forms and massing, but lacks original architectural details and materials. While the massing remains intact, the building does not possess a high degree of integrity of original or later architectural elements. It's a pretty typical triple-decker type, despite being 4 stories. Modern windows, vinyl siding. It adds really nothing to this vibrant streetscape along Broadway, nor does it match or relate in any way to its abutting buildings, the single-story Patsy's building and this large, much nicer building with the turret on the corner. It sits on a very small 1,552 square foot lot, it takes up most of it, leaving very little room between it and its neighbors. It is kind of weirdly wedged into here, actually, if you look at it on the street. There's no significant historical persons were here, no significant historical events were here. It's not importantly associated with the broad architectural, cultural, political, economic, or social history of the city or the state. It is not the product of a reputed architect or builder. It is not part of a group of buildings or structures. In fact, it doesn't match any of these. It is not in the public interest to preserve it. In fact, in light of the proposed affordable housing project, it's actually in the public interest to allow it to be demolished. A delay obviously has significant impact on the cost of building affordable housing, just throwing that out there. But I understand tonight is just about the significance of the existing structure. So therefore, the Somerville Community Corporation respectfully requests that this commission not find this building here on the right at 184 Broadway significant. And I will allow everyone to see each other again.
Thank you, Attorney Dash. Is there anybody else within your group who'd like to speak before we turn it over public comment?
I don't think so, unless we'll be here for questions.
Okay. In that case, the next step in this is to take public comment about this. And if you'd like to speak, raise your hand and their staff will unmute you and you'll have 2 minutes.
Chair Parks, this is Madison speaking. I don't see anyone raising their hand right now.
Okay. In that case, I will close the public comment portion of this hearing for this project and offer this to the commission to think about. Any thoughts?
I think in my eyes, the staff report did a fairly good job of describing it, and Attorney Dash did a fairly good job of summing it up. Doesn't look like it was ever a particularly noteworthy building in terms of its styling or anything like that. And there's very, very little left of it architecturally, and it's strikingly unmemorable in that I've gone past that area a lot, and I was like, what in the world? I looked at it and I was like, have I seen that? It's like, oh, next door to Patsy's. Okay. Now I know where we are, but just doesn't stick in the mind. I don't feel like it would be any particularly great loss, notwithstanding what sounds like a good project going forward with the space. That's not really in our, as was pointed out, not really in our purview to consider at the moment anyway. But even without that, even without knowing what was going in, I don't think this would have been one I would have looked at and said, oh, well, that's got something worth saving.
Thank you, DJ.
I would like to comment. What an interesting place that it's 4 stories, isn't it? And I would like to also comment that the staff report is fantastic. So whoever is doing this staff report, really, they're doing such a great job. They're entertaining to read. For me, it creates a nice picture of what life, was like, people coming in and out, renting places out, just such a great staff report. So thank you. I would agree that it's been stripped. I'm sure in its day, it was probably a very interesting place to look at if you squint and take a look at some of the detailing on the front porch, with some of the brackets that are interestingly covered up with the siding. It's just an interesting front image when you look at it. However, it has been stripped, and it is, I think Attorney Dash mentioned that it covers most of the lot, and it is definitely stacked and smooshed in there. And I don't like to see anything go, but this one I could be swayed to let go.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Any other thoughts? How about you, Mr. Falvey?
Yeah, I agree with the sentiments that have been shared so far. I don't really see any redeeming qualities in that I would find that would make it significant. I found that Attorney Dash the context that he provided about the property and what's going on the lot was helpful. Appreciate that. It's certainly helpful to have that, and I would not support declaring this historic significant.
Thank you, Mr. Falvey. Guess I would concur. I've spent with little kids who would kind of make that trip between Louis and Chucky Harris all the time, would stare hours staring at that thing. I mean, it's memorable because it's kind of an oddball building, and you tend to wonder what's beneath all the vinyl there. But it's just as an architect, that the math, that weird projecting bay on the left just doesn't really belong there. However, it's got boxed in brackets that make it seem like someone must have thought about it before they put it there. So all that's fun to think about. But at the end of the day, I don't think it really has a big role in the street. I think it's not a great example of anything else except for maybe this idea of an older four-decker. So I would support not finding it significant as well. So unless I see any other thoughts, we could move to a vote on this, I think.
I move that we vote to, let's see, do we need to do this in the positive? Phrase the motion.
Yeah, we tend to phrase these a vote for significance, and a yes vote is significance, and no is not.
Okay. I move that we vote on declaring the property at 184 Broadway historically significant. A yes vote would be that it is significant, a no vote would be that it is not.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Mr. Falvey. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
And opposed?
Nay.
Nay. So yes vote is for significance and no is for not significance. And we'll do a roll call just to confirm everybody's, starting with Ms. Price.
Sorry, I'll pay attention. Yes, I am voting no.
Okay. Mr. Shagnon?
No.
Mr. Falvey?
No.
And I'll vote no. And then we need to follow up with findings, which I think would be that kind of a standard. It lacks an association with an important person or an event, time period. It doesn't play a role on its streetscape. Historic doesn't contribute to the streetscape. Not a indication. It's not an example of a distinct style or time period because of the standards. Anything else I'm missing?
I think that it has been stripped of most of its presumed historic detailing as well.
Okay. All right, then we'll take a motion on those findings then.
Move that we accept those as the findings. Well stated.
Okay. Is there a second? A motion for accepting findings by Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Ms. Price. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do a roll call of Ms. Price.
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon?
Yes.
Mr. Falvey?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So there you have it.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a good evening.
You too. See you around.
Bye.
All right, and with that, I think we can collect Vice Chair Kelly back. And I can look for my agenda. Here it is. Welcome back. The next, and I believe last case, except for one that's being continued, is HP 25-000078. The address is 58 Main Street. The applicant is Patrick Easley. The owner is Doug Kia. Forgive me if I pronounced that badly. The applicant seeks to demolish the building constructed a minimum of 75 years ago. And this is a case where we heard some number of meetings ago, a determination of significance. So people know. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, I'm here. And Tanya's also here. She's going to be handling the presentation for us.
Okay.
Yes, I think I just got promoted. Here I am.
Welcome. So why don't you give us a quick, anything else you want to add to the discussion now that we're at this level or this phase?
Hi, sorry, I was rejoining as a panelist. Yeah, we have a brief presentation if we're allowed to show it.
Sure.
Sure. Let me share my screen. All right. Good evening, everyone. Tanya Carey from Culsa Design. I'm the architect on the project. And the general contractor owner is also with us tonight, Patrick. So the project is at 58 Main Street, Somerville, Mass. Oh. And just to remind you of the site location, we are at a corner lot on the corner of Main Street and Fremont Street, just one lot over from Medford. And this is a building aerial view of the existing building. And a couple photos to remind you of the condition of the house. So we have a mansard roof with dormers and double hung windows. And then we have this side wing element, 2 stories on the left side, as well as a rear addition. And this is a view of our proposed site plan, and it shows just kind of clearly where we are proposing the additions. The existing footprint is shown here in gray. We'd like to enlarge the building to provide more living area and convert to 3 dwelling units. So we have a front addition proposed. And when I say proposed, as you know, it's already, I'll show you the current condition as we discussed last week. But the addition in the front, since we do have a really large setback currently, which is even more than the maximum allowed in Somerville. This second line here is the maximum front setback allowed on properties. We did propose a front addition, and then in the rear, a rear addition as well. And we would leave plenty of landscape area as well on the rear side and the front corner. Now here's kind of the progression. First photo is existing, obviously. And today our project is well into construction, and this is the current condition, which was built almost per plans besides 2 areas that you'll see that were demolished. So one area is on the roof here. You can see we had this kind of double sloped mansard roof on the existing. In the proposed, I'll show you some conditions of how rotted that framing was. So that has partially come down at this point. And then the other area is in a different photo. So I'll show you. Actually, just going back. So in our proposed design, this kind of shows the 3 in a row is a good example to show it on. We did want to keep the character of the building. So even though we were proposing the front addition, we still went with a mansard roof in a similar profile to the existing, along with dormers and double hung 3 windows in the front. We did propose 2/1 style just to give it a little bit more character there, and a covered front porch, dressing that up from the existing one, which just had a small metal post. Now on the left is I'm not sure if this factors into your decision, but this is what was approved by permit as of right, which was less than 50% demolition. The 2 areas which additionally need to be demolished is the left side wing. The roof area was structurally unsound and rotted, and the mansard on that left side, and then on the top, that double sloped area on the top roof. And this is just our drawing of what was approved at the 47%. Originally, those 2 areas were remained before they were discovered after full demolition of the, not full demolition, but after opening it up. And this is our current request. It would be 72%, so significantly higher than the 50% allowed. by adding these two areas to the calculation. And here's I won't play the whole thing, but a brief video that shows that condition of the rafters. You can see in a letter on the side here from our structural engineer. So most of the joists can be pulled out by hand. You'll see in a second. So significant rock, unstable, just a couple shakes of the hand, you can pull it out. And that's kind of consistent around the roof area, along with the rotted sheathing. So that was the area of the roof that was supposed to remain that we'd like to fully remove. And as a note, this was set back from the edge because this was the addition. So it was going to remain, it would be less visible from the street, seeing as it was set back. So it's kind of the same thing all around, so I won't make you watch the whole thing unless you want to. Couple photos from that video where you can see the rot. And what you are really looking at today is what we are proposing in place of the existing structure. So as I mentioned, the front addition would pull that out further to the street while still maintaining character of the existing building to some extent with the mansard roof dormers and adding some character with new siding, getting rid of the faux masonry facade, adding new 2/1 windows, brackets and different trim work, mantle heads above the windows, and then keeping that setback addition on the left side. This would be the rear facade. Again, adding some additional windows, give it a little bit more light and character to the building, and some larger porches along the back with decorative posts. And this is the left elevation. Same idea, keeping the general massing while extending in the front and changing some of the windows. And the right, which faces Fremont Street, having additional windows there, and our extension in the back. And just to give you a sense of what would be going in, it would be 3 units, Philly style. So first floor is a first floor and part of basement. Second floor is comprised of unit 2 and part of unit 3, and third floor is much smaller, the rest of unit 3 area. So that's kind of our presentation, and we're happy to turn to you for questions and go over anything further detail.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions, but I think first we'll take public comment. If there are any members of the public who'd like to speak, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Here at Parks, we have one person raising their hands. I'm going to have to share my screen to get the timer. And I'm going to allow Gina De Pasquale to speak. Gina, you have 2 minutes whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Yes.
Did you hear my question? Hi.
Hi. No, we just started hearing you. So anything you said
Oh,
before.
okay. I said, how did we get that far without knowing what was supposed to be done before they even started the demolition or construction?
Okay. Our custom is to get all public comment first, and we can answer questions after to do it all in one lump. So anything else you want to add, or else we'll see if anybody else wants to talk first.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Right, and I don't see anyone raising their hands right now, Chair Parks.
Okay, thanks. I will close the public comment portion of this hearing. And just to the commenter, as far as we're concerned, when this project was originally conceived, it was not demolishing enough of the structure to require it to come to us for hearing. So it was what they would call a by right. I assume it's by right, unless it needed some other kind of zoning relief, but it was out of our purview. So I think that's kind of how it got here. And as you heard from, oops, sorry.
And once it was known that it was going to exceed that, they proceeded with construction without consulting historic. So they took steps beyond discovering that it was going to exceed 50%. And so that's where we are now, is they've pursued things without permission. And so that's why it's here.
Thank you for that clarification. I have a few questions. So, if you could actually, Tanya, could you pull up the view from the side street, the long view that shows the addition on the left, the original building in the middle, and then the addition off the back?
Sure. I think Patrick, who's with me tonight, had a comment if he can add it.
Can I address the last
Oh,
comment?
sure. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So when we did realize that we were going to have to go over that demo threshold, I reached out to the building inspector that day. Got the engineer over there to check out, what my framer was telling me was rotted wood. So once we realized we were getting to an area where what the plans were showing was supposed to remain, that it wasn't feasible to do that, I reached out to them right away. So I did want to go ahead and make that clear. We didn't really.
And what did they tell you next steps should be?
We stopped it. We didn't do anything past that.
So how is there a roof now?
There's not a roof. You saw it. We didn't do anything to it. That's been like that since then.
The roof is still there, Patrick, right? The top.
Yeah, that's what the video she showed you. That's all still there. If you put anything on top of it, it's going to collapse.
The structure that's visible is with the straight sides, even though in the drawing it has curves. The thing with the straight sides, that's the addition in the front. That's not the replacing the original.
Sorry. Yeah, so that one side, yes, we did put new sheeting up. That was in an effort to try to keep weather out while this was going on. But the rafters had already collapsed at that point. So it's either we had to make the building structurally sound, or else, you'd have something sitting there without support.
Okay.
Okay.
So my bigger question, I guess, is if this is such a mishmash, even for the original design of the old and new, I was having a little hard time keeping up with what by the original design was meant to be kept to keep you under that threshold, and what's changed. You had a little bubble in diagram.
Yeah.
And also a question is it your intention to basically stick to that design and recreate what you've demolished as it was before as part of is your design remaining the same, just that you're recreating what you were going to save?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So the first question, the areas that would change from our original proposal are circled here in red. So this blue roof that was to remain.
We don't actually have your screen.
Oh, you don't have my screen anymore. Okay, let me just share it again. Okay. And let me enlarge that. Okay, so can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
So these three areas circled in red are the three that we're requesting to basically add to the demo percentage. So on the left side, there's a flat roof over the 2-story left wing. So we'd like to replace that fully, the structure of it.
Would that be basically replaced in kind then? A new flat
Well,
roof?
it would have to be structurally, size structurally to today's standards, the joist size.
Yeah.
So if it was
at the end of the day, the envelope wise,
it wouldn't look any different unless you opened up the ceiling. So from the street, it wouldn't look any different, it'd be the same height and all that. And then on the very top, where you have that top slope to the mansard on after the mansard walls, that's the area I showed in the video. So that's still there currently. We'd like to remove it because it's going to be problematic to leave it. So we were thinking while we're here to ask to remove that, since you saw how weak the joists were and they could be pulled out. And then on the left side, this mansard portion to be rebuilt in
Okay.
kind. Yeah.
So you would be replacing the stuff that you've already demolished or hope to demolish with new construction that matches the existing.
Yes, with the exception of the high roof, we were thinking to leave that flat because in the design, in our proposed design, since our addition's bigger, it kind of actually looks odd because it's like only on 2/3 of the roof and not the whole roof symmetrical with how it is today. So I can show you on, for instance, the site plan. So this area is where it has that high roof.
Yes.
So that's, if we rebuilt it in kind right there, it wouldn't really look like it goes with the new structure, in my opinion, but maybe, we're happy to rebuild that if that's something desired.
Do you have a view from Fremont Street there of what it would look like keeping
It
that?
it would basically look like this because it's set back. You can't actually see much of it because it's set back from the front and the side where the additions are.
So is that current condition photograph, the higher roof on that central section is still there? It's just not really visible.
I'll have to ask Patrick because I haven't personally been up there on the
It's
roof.
there. I mean, it's not like I said. You saw the video how some of it had already come down. So I mean,
Well, yeah.
it's definitely still there, and I'm happy to walk through it with you. But yeah, it's not very visible from the street.
So on that picture of current condition, is any portion of that wall that's currently the green, the boarding original? Like what is original on that view?
The only original part is the part that's not green that you can see because that's whole side is where the addition was. So here you can see.
Oh, I see. There's
the-
that sort of projecting bit
Yeah, the
above.
left side is where you maintain that wall there.
Are there any exterior walls that you were keeping?
Yes, so the one portion on that side,
Yeah.
the left side of the building, which is screen bottom here, all of those walls.
And otherwise, it's just roof that was supposed to remain to keep you under that 50%.
Yeah, there were. Let me go to the demo diagram. So the blue surfaces here. All the red was to be removed.
So practically speaking, this is a full demolition. I mean, it speaks to a need to rewrite the demo ordinance, but you were obviously cutting it close, and I can't really. I mean, whether we
About
this
half of the walls are remain and half weren't, so about 50, just under 50.
yeah, but the meat of it. I mean, look at it from the front to the corner.
It's all the characteristic components. I have a really hard time with the following, and Khalsa does this all the time, that you follow the letter of the law, the ordinance, but absolutely not the spirit. And it's really, really disingenuous because every time it comes this close, lo and behold, there's some structural thing and it needs to be more. And then we get ourselves to this point where more stuff has been done and then we're feeling pressured to just go along because it's been too far in the process. I think it's crazy that people think that they can just take down a mansard and leave the weird additions that were put on later in its life. I can't even tell you how this makes me insane.
Yeah, well, I agree. I think in this case, quibbling over whether we keep that little top of the mansard when it would be just floating in the middle of a new flat roof. It almost becomes an absurd artifact. And what you're proposing to do on the flip side here is basically recreate the things that you were taking away anyway. So the most we could do would be to require you to do what you want to do, to bring it back to 50% of the structure. So
I think that's true because we have found this property to be historically significant. And right now we are determining whether the building as it existed before it was touched was preferably preserved. I vote when that comes to a vote, yes, it's preferably preserved and we can make them restore it. It can be built again as it was. So we do have that remedy. And I don't understand why for something that is designed with a curve, why it's been built with straight lines and why on a mansard where the tops of the windows are flat, why they're like leaning and falling off the building.
how about the other two commissioners? What are your thoughts on this?
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Sure.
but I am going to have to recuse myself.
Okay.
Okay. We still have quorum, right? Ryan's still here?
Yes.
Also,
Yeah.
he doesn't show on the top of my screen, so I wanted to double check.
Hmm.
Oh, it's definitely a pickle. I mean, the whole, if it were presented to us knowing it was going to come down, we'd have been, as Robin points out, seeking input into the design proposal to try to get, some of those features echoed back in. Now, hypothetically, they wouldn't have ended up taking our advice and it would have just sat for the demolition to delay or reached a memorandum of agreement. But that said, on the flip side, I agree with Chair Parks and Vice Chair Kelly that there's issues with how the demolition ordinance is written, but on the flip side, that's not the applicant's fault.
Yeah, right. They're doing what any designer, which I would do as an architect. Well, hope not.
Right. I mean, you'd work within the letter of the law, and
Yeah, the code
that's
says
what you
this.
do.
So
And yeah, would I personally aesthetically have said, well, can you pick a different 47% of it to have saved and don't bother with the ugly addition and keep the lovely mansard portion of the structure? But obviously, if they had proposed to do that and then structurally they dug into it and it's entirely structurally unsound, we're back at the same position. Like if we'd had input into the design back then, I don't know what that gleans us.
that's kind of where I approach it, which is that if this had come to us at, at the beginning, I would agree with Vice Chair Kelly that this is a property I would consider preferably preserved. If the design that came from that, if the applicant as often has says like we can't do what we want to do and keep that structure there, it's just ruminating here. The fact that this is a mansard, I mean, what's been replaced there, I could see it evolving from something like this. It's not the most egregious thing that got built. I think it's saddening because it almost because of what it leaves in place of the old structure. So it almost have been easier just to say, if you'd come to us with this originally and said we want to just take it down and do something, and we could have explored ways to maybe tweak it just a little bit. I'm not upset with the mansard itself. And also I go back to like, well, I think that yes, we could call it preferably preserved, but ultimately, if they go back to the point of restoring it to where over 50% of the structure is there, like we can't, what's gone is gone. I don't know what more of an end game there would be there.
Yeah.
I don't really see like just sitting on it for 18 months to just kind of like sour grapes. Um,
I
so
guess,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I mean,
if it's deemed preferably preserved, they would have the opportunity to work with staff
Mhm.
to come to an agreeable design, potentially something that, you know, better reflects actual mansard roofs, not a 21st century version.
So I have I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chair Crowley. Vice Chair Crowley, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. But we are, I mean, we are thinking of the property as it was before it was touched. And so that's the vote that we need to take.
I have a question for the applicant, which is that when I'm looking at this proposed front elevation of the addition, right? That's the addition that projects forward.
Yep.
I see the same sort of curved profile on the mansard. I mean, or at least a rebuilding, a reinterpretation of it that was there originally. It looks like the intent had been to build in that distinctive curve that the previous one had had. I mean, it gets rid of the peak in the roof further back, but as has been pointed out, that's difficult to see from the ground anyway. I'm less attached to the double slope as I am to the curve. And I'm wondering where that went in the actual construction.
Right. It's I mean, we were trying to keep it right. So I mean, we were supposed to be tying into the existing mansard at one on one side of it, right? So it would have had to, in essence, reflect the same curve that
Sure.
had. So that was the goal. I mean, if I can, I don't know if it's just the angle of the picture which doesn't make us look as good, or if you know if it doesn't, if we don't have the identical curve, then I could talk to the framer, say, listen, we didn't accomplish what we needed to here. We need to you know get that more pronounced, to meet their requirements. But like Doug Keach, the owner, like, and Tanya can speak to this. The goal was to keep that, right? Because like you said, you like the look of it. That was what we had discussed. So we weren't trying to get rid of it or do our own take on a mansard roof or anything like that. So I mean, Tanya, do you think it was the angle of the picture, or maybe it's a little bit more square than it needs to be?
It's a little bit of both, I think. Maybe
Okay.
the execution as well as the angle of the picture is not the best one.
Okay, yeah, there's a little bit of a flare toward the bottom edge of it, but it's more hockey stick than curve.
Yeah, and the zoning does have kind of a strict requirement with how those have to be dimensioned, 2 feet from the floor, so we'd have to play with it, but that's how it was designed to meet both of those requirements originally.
Okay.
It looks like it's just two flat planes from what I see here.
Yeah. And to some extent, right, Mr. Easley, what happened was it was found to be unsound, and in order to get things. No, wait, the mansard, you said the third wall, is that still up? The wall that was going to be saved? Or did
No,
that end up coming down?
that came down. So
Okay.
we were taking off the shingles on that mansard roof, then the sheathing started kind of crumbling behind it, and then the rafters from there. So
Okay. So it's not there. So
that part is
presumably what they did was they expediently built it up to roof the building. Because
well, it was
otherwise
only
we
the
wouldn't
one
have a
side.
building to preserve anyway.
It was only the one side that was supposed to
Right.
remain, right?
Right.
So
So yeah, this side here, Patrick, you're
Yeah.
saying on the bottom one is the one gone, right?
right. So I mean, something had to be placed there to
Yeah.
have support. Like the roof above it is still sitting there, and that nothing can be put on that, or else it's going to
Okay.
collapse. Yeah.
And it's for the top portion of a mansard roof, it's kind of silly to go through heroics to keep it when it could be rebuilt and look exactly the same. And people, if you go far enough away, you do see it, but it's,
Yeah.
yeah. But, I mean, I would, as Vice Chair Kelly has said, but ignoring all that, if this were before us, which is kind of what we have to treat this as a project that hasn't been built yet, in a way, and then I would personally feel like this is a structure that would be called preferably preserved, as step one. Um, I just think that the solution from there, um, some would not necessarily be like rip it all down and restore it. It would be like, where do we go from there with it? Are there things that could be made better? Reflection. I mean, a mansard building with the scale that you have it could be worse. I've seen worse in the city. Um, Maybe it's fixing the mansard up so it has the curve that was depicted in your drawings, stuff like that. But that's kind of getting ahead of me. I think step one is to decide whether that old building that's no longer there would be considered perfectly preserved. And then step two would be to see what happens after that. What about you, Mr. Falvey? Have you had any thoughts? You've been watching us.
Yeah, I mean this. I support the the line of thinking of Vice Chair Kelly. Concerned about here we are again finding ourselves in one of these situations where consultation didn't take place appropriately, and you know wondering how you manage that, which is a separate thing from this case, of course, too. But that's certainly something that needs to be addressed. But as far as this particular project is concerned, I'd probably favor declaring it preferably preserved and trying to figure out how to work with the group to to get the best design for the completion of it.
I move that we vote to find the property preferably preserved.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion for preferably preserved vote by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Falvey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do a roll call starting with Mr. Shagnon.
Oh boy. I'm on the fence. I think I'm gonna go with an abstain on this one.
Okay. Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. And we therefore Ms. Price is recusing herself. Okay. Findings, I would say its role primarily it's a good reflection of a classic mansard building there. It's in the streetscape, it actually belongs to several buildings that are similarly styled. Isn't there also an issue, which I don't have the report in front of me, where the previous occupant was a bit of a neighborhood celebrity, and in fact, the square is named after him, like a little. I don't know if that rises to the level of associations, but I think those are the reasons I would call it that. Any other findings one would want to find or add?
Move that we vote to adopt those findings.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do a roll call again. Mr. Shagnon,
I'll vote yes on the findings.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So I think to expedite things, just you heard kind of what some of our comments were. I don't think we're going to get the original building back again, obviously, but I think engage with staff and we can see where we get with that.
What would the next steps be?
Well, should we ultimately give a little guidance there because we don't typically vote. Well, actually, no, we do vote on memorandum of agreements. Usually we meet with the staff and I mean, you heard our little concern with the shape of the mansard, for example, other little details. Um,
Has anyone
walls.
looked at that in person or no?
It's
Um,
not, it's not, it's not as it was drawn. It's not just the
and
photo.
We're
The
trying to
purport,
we're trying to meet what it looked like before, not what's drawn, right?
with the
right,
shape of
but
the
what
mansard. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that what was drawn would be acceptable. Um, and so, it just wasn't built to these architectural drawings. But the curve, the scale, all those things are really important. And too often we're seeing buildings where it's basically a triple decker with an angled top. And it looks silly. Like, why bother? Um,
If it
but
had been done per how the slope looked in the plans, would we be getting a different vote right now? Like if that's the only thing
no,
holding it up, and
I
I have
think
Kramer go
What
change that, would
no, I
that
think I think our view is looking at what was there, what went away, and it's not we couldn't really, in all fairness, just say like this ought to be properly preserved, but go with it, like break the rules a little bit. So um I think what helps you is if maybe with what the process for reviewing what replaces it here is like I think little details like that would just sort of expedite the process of moving forward from here. I think I'm looking at your rendering that's on the screen. What the designer showed there with it mansard is nice. It's tasteful.
Yeah.
It looks cuter than what I'm seeing in the photo there. Obviously, it's not dressed out yet with finished trim and things. But so that's why I say, like, well, I see someone made an effort to make the new building blend in. And yes, I get a little bit put out when it's like the demo delay, avoiding it is kind of what makes it a farce because practically speaking, what we're seeing is new. However, what is being shown in this drawing here is a decent reflection of a little mansard building. So I can see where you were headed with this. So I think working with staff,
can
I
I
think
Who
can I
is
add
sorry,
staff
a
currently? Because I was told there's no historic, they've left.
historic staff. I think they're here right now. As Miss Anthony.
Oh, Madison is taking
Yeah.
over for historic.
So like yeah, Sarah White, who is the senior historic preservation planner, left, but we still have historic staff.
Okay.
Um, I will message you on Citizen Serve and then you'll communicate with historic staff through the MOA application that I'm assuming you're going to submit in the historic at Somerville email account.
Yeah, it would be helpful to have a meeting with them like we used to go over stuff.
Well, that would be what the MOA meeting would be for.
Okay, great.
so to what I was going to say was to provide a little bit of clarity to Mr. Easley's question, right? If presumably you had gone into this knowing you were going to have to take down 76% of the building and had come forward to us before you started any demolition, we would have presumably gotten to the same point of saying it's preferably preserved. And the next step is to work on a memorandum of agreement with the applicant, which would be something like you presenting the plans in a whole lot of detail and saying, essentially, here's what we're going to do, and we could work with you, or staff would work with you on figuring out tweaks and what portions can be preserved and that sort of thing, which to a large extent, the intent is there in Tanya's drawings to do, with questions about some of the details and all of that. And you'd get to a set of drawings that works, that would probably in large part have looked a lot like what your proposed drawings were when you started the project. I mean, realistically speaking. And it'll end up at a memorandum of agreement. So the good news is you're quite a ways into a set of drawings, and there might just be some tinkering around the details in a few spots, and other things that are important to preserve out of the original thing that would end up coming forward to us with a memorandum of agreement about how you're going to get from where you are now to a finished product.
Okay,
So
very good.
it shouldn't be 18 months of delay by any stretch,
Yeah,
unless your response is to simply say, you know what, never mind. And then 18 months from now, you could have torn it all down. But nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants you to do that.
No, I mean, we want to work with you and just get back to
Yeah.
work, you know.
Yeah, I think that's everybody's goal, is to get things figured out in a way that respects the original structure and captures that attention to detail.
Right.
And it just has a little more legal teeth than just the permit set.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, to me, like our proposed plans look, the slope looks a little bit more pronounced than say the original structure had. That's why I kind of had that question. But you know,
No,
that's a good
yeah.
point. If the intention is to match the existing, then that's sort of like what overrides, although there's no existing left, from what I understand.
but you can like easily pull up pictures and see what it looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another thing that, just since we're looking at this now, one of the little beefs I have with a lot of these sort of buildings like this that y'all do is in this nice little rendering, we have a lot of little lines and things, which make it seem like there's more detail going on. But in practice, what gets built is it's very flat, and there's just like flat trim, eaves that missing that don't have moldings and things, like little details that would help it look just nicer in general. And I think a lot of those get lost when you just look at the AZEC, like what's the catalog got for plastic and slap it on there. So there might be an opportunity here to just kind of dress it up a little bit as we look at that window
Yeah,
trim.
I think we did show kind of decorative, window trim and cornices. They haven't gone in yet.
Okay.
But that is the intent. So there's
Yeah.
no trim work in yet. But we did have kind of a detailed cornice, and we have details of these in our sets as well.
Window caps and stuff. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, and I'm available if staff needs to reach me for talk about anything with that. I know that
Oh, great.
so cool.
Very good.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
And with that, we have just one more case, which is continued, I believe. And that case is, I guess Ms. Price could come back if she'd like. HP 25-000080, address is 21 Avon Street. And there are two cases. There's that and HP 25-000081, 21 Avon Street. That's the barn. One is the house and the other is the barn that's on the same property. They're treated separately for noticing purposes. And the applicant has requested that both of these cases be continued to which meeting?
I believe it's the March 3rd meeting. Let me double check. Yep, March 3rd.
Okay. Can I have a motion to allow that continuance?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Vice Chair Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll do our roll call with Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. And that's it for business. Let me see what other items we have on the agenda. CPC update. We are still in the middle of reviewing projects to see who gets money this time, basically. There's really no big news there. I think we moved a few forward, but it's a long process. We hope to wrap it up at the next meeting, which is this month, right? Yeah. Any questions on the CPC? Okay, then the last thing is two sets of minutes from December 16th and January 6th, which I think I saw in here, yes. People want a moment to look those over, or have they already done so, or any questions, comments on those?
I reviewed both sets of minutes. I didn't see any issues.
Second. I don't see any issues either.
No issues from me.
I don't have any issues either.
Do we have to vote on them separately, or can we vote on both sets as one?
I don't officially know. Maybe, do you know, Madison, what I should know this.
I believe you're supposed to vote on them separately.
Okay. That's my memory. I think we tend to do that. All right. Well, I would
Although
entertain a motion.
in one of the minutes we're approving, there appears to be a single motion to approve 3 sets of minutes.
Oh, really? All right. I feel totally gotten there.
There's a motion to approve December 16th minutes meeting
I
from
will
the
second that.
agency.
Okay, motion by Mr. Falvey, second by Mr. Shagnon to approve minutes of December 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do the roll call of Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. And then let's take a motion on the second set of minutes from January 6th.
Move that we approve the minutes of January 6th, 2026.
Okay,
I'll second that.
motion by Mr. Shagnon. I think that was Vice Chair Kelly seconding that.
It
Did I get
was.
that?
Yes.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do a roll call again. Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. I think that's it. Anything else one wants to bring up or ask before we head off?
I don't think so.
So our next meeting is this month, right? I mean, first of February 7th.
February
Yeah, it
2nd?
would be
Third.
February 3rd.
3rd. Okay, I'm off by a few days. All right. Do you know, is that likely to be a stacked meeting, or are we kind of standard?
I don't actually know yet. I would need to double check, but hopefully not too stacked.
Okay. Well,
I move
in
that we vote to adjourn.
Second that.
all right. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. See you all. Thanks, everybody. Thank you,
Bye.
Charlie.
Thanks.
Everybody
Thanks,
else.
Madison and others.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Here, y'all.
See you all.
Good night.